What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, we have some breaking news, some shocking news, as it's being reported that four-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, who's currently the reigning undisputed super middleweight world champion, and widely considered to be the face of the sport of boxing, top three, if not number one best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Saul Canelo Alvarez, 57 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws, 39 big wins by way of knockout. He is 31 years of age, 5'8", with a 70-inch arm reach. Well, now it's being reported by the PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, TGB Promotions, Tom Brown Promotions, that Canelo Alvarez was offered a whopping $55 million. You heard me. $55 million to face off against undefeated, newly crowned 3-belt unified welterweight world champion, superstar boxer who is widely considered by many to be top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, in Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. is now 28 wins, no losses, no draws, 22 big wins by way of knockout. He is 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. So, TGB is Tom Brown is reporting that they offered Canelo Alvarez a whopping $55 million to face off against Errol Spence Jr., $45 million to face off against undefeated 2-division world champion, reigning WBC middleweight world champion, superstar boxer JERMALL Lions Only Charlo. Okay? And Canelo Alvarez turned it down. He could have received $45 million to fight Jermall Charlo and then fight Errol Spence Jr. at a catchweight of 164. So they wanted to have Errol Spence Jr. versus Canelo Alvarez at a catchweight of 164. Okay, Canelo Alvarez, he fights at 168. Okay, so they were offering him to fight Jermall Charlo at 164. And Errol Spence at 164, a catchweight that Canelo Alvarez turned down. And now we know Canelo Alvarez has turned it down to face off against undefeated light heavyweight Russian superstar boxer Dmitry Bivol, who has 19 wins, no losses, no draws, 11 wins by way of knockout. He is 31 years of age. He's 6 feet tall with a 72-inch arm reach. He is the reigning WBA light heavyweight world champion. That's going to take place this Saturday, Cinco de Mayo weekend, May 7th, in Las Vegas, Nevada. So with that said, Tom Brown is saying that they offered Canelo Alvarez massive amount of money to fight at a catchweight 64, and he turned it down to do a 2-fight deal with DIVISON, Matchroom CEO and promoter Eddie Hearn, and to fight Dmitry Bivol May 7th, and then to fight a trilogy match with middleweight reigning unified world champion, 2-time middleweight champion, unified champion, Gennady Triple G Golovkin in a trilogy in September. Okay, looks like it's going to be around September 11th, I believe. Okay, so with that said, the first fight with Triple G and Canelo Alvarez ended in a draw. Second fight saw Canelo Alvarez victorious. Third fight, Canelo Alvarez stated he didn't want it. He had no interest in fighting Triple G. That chapter of his career and his life was closed. He had no interest in fighting Triple G. Well, now Tom Brown is saying that you had an offer to fight Errol Spence. Wow. At 164 and Jermall Charlo at 164, and you turned the opportunity down to. That's $100 million. So they was going to give him $100 million to fight Errol Spence, $50 million a fight, essentially. 55 for Errol Spence, 45 for Jermall Charlo. So you're going to make $100 million, $50 a fight, it comes down to, and then make pay-per-view money on the back end. And you turned it down to fight Triple G, a fight that you claimed that a chapter in your career was closed. So now this is going to give credence to the people that says that Jermall Charlo is avoiding fighters. That Canelo Alvarez is avoiding African-American fighters. Now, what's even more interesting is that Canelo Alvarez trainer, well-renowned trainer, 2-time trainer of the year, Eddie Reynoso, has come out and he stated that African-American fighters is a very, very difficult style to deal with. Thus the reason why it's the most difficult style to deal with. Thus the reason why, you know, they're not too interested and eager to jump in the ring with African-American fighters. We just saw his stablemate and 2-division world champion, former WBC super featherweight world champion, Mexican superstar boxer Alcin Valdez, get dominated by 2-division world champion, undefeated silver medalist, who's now the unified super featherweight champion for the WBC and the WBO, and that's Shakur Stevenson. In the same manner, he was dominated in his May 2013 showdown with retired legendary Hall of Fame iconic superstar boxer Floyd Money Mayweather, where he lost essentially every round, that being Canelo Alvarez. And so Eddie Reynoso, he stated that they have no interest in fighting African-American fighters because that style is very difficult. Well, that lends credence to Canelo Alvarez. Now you're going to fight Dimitri Bivol, who has the Eastern European style, more flat-footed, right there in front of you. It's not hard to find him. But now he's athletic, he's mobile. But you're going to fight Dimitri Bivol. And then Triple G, a fight that you claimed that you had no credence in fighting. You had no interest in fighting Triple G in the trilogy. You were done with that chapter in your career. And now you want to fight Triple G over fighting Errol Spence Jr. and fighting JERMALL Charlo, and at a catchweight. Now, I don't agree with JERMALL Charlo, who is a 160-pounder. He's 6 feet tall, 74-inch arm reach. His trainer, well-renowned Hall of Fame trainer, Ronnie Shields, stated that, you know, he could easily make 168, 175 if he wanted to. He's very big stature. He has 32 wins, no losses, no draws, 22 big wins by way of knockout. He's 31, going on 32 years of age himself. He's a very big middleweight. So I don't agree with him fighting at a catchweight. For what? He should just fight at 168. Okay, he claimed that he would go to 168 for a fight with Canelo Alvarez, so go make the full limit. I don't agree that should have not been a catchweight. Now, when it comes to Errol Spence, I understand the catchweight at 164 because Errol Spence is a welterweight. He fights at 147. Now, people claim to be he's a big welterweight. Errol Spence said he's done with fighting at 147. He's done trying to make that weight at 147. But, you know, I don't agree with Errol Spence jumping up over 54 and 60 and challenging him at 64. I don't agree with that. We saw that attempt by Kell Brook when he attempted to do that from 47 to 60 with Triple G, and he got his orbital bone broken. There's weight classes for a reason, and you should gradually move up. Okay. Now, with that said, I wouldn't agree with Canelo Alvarez. Now, for Errol Spence's sake, you know, financially, it makes sense, I guess, to fight Canelo Alvarez. Massive payday, massive opportunity. He's viewed as the face of the sport of boxing. So maybe that's a fight that you want to accept. But I personally want Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. Undefeated 3-division world champion, former undisputed junior welterweight, currently the reigning WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, with a record of 38 wins, no loss and no draw, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He's 34 years of age, 5'8", with a 74-inch arm reach. So that's the fight. That's the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. Okay, over Errol Spence daring to be great and going up all the way up to challenge Canelo Alvarez at 164. I would much rather see him take on, you know, I would have much rather see him take on, you know, Canelo Alvarez than Terrence Crawford, than opposed to be daring to be great and challenging, you know, Canelo Alvarez at 64. But we know Canelo Alvarez, he stated that he claimed that he wanted to be undisputed at middleweight. Okay, he defeated Triple G. He became the unified. Defeated Danny Jacobs. He became the unified middleweight champion. He had the opportunity to face off against undefeated 2-division world champion, who was the reigning WBO middleweight world champion, Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, and he opted to jump up and fight Callum Smith, avoided Demetrius Andrade. A big 6 foot tall, 6'1" with a 74-inch arm reach, a slick southpaw middleweight, African-American fighter. He avoided that fight. Then he had the opportunity to face off against Erislandy Lara, and we know he eventually fought Erislandy Lara, but we know his promoter at the time in Oscar De La Hoya was against him fighting him, and Oscar De La Hoya explained why he don't like the style matchup. So he didn't want that fight for Canelo Alvarez. So with that said, he fought Everslande De Lara, and he arguably lost. He lost every round to Floyd Mayweather, and it's now becoming more and more evident that he had no interest in fighting this style. They don't like the style matchup. He prefers the Eastern European style. Now, he did fight a style in Caleb Plant, who's a mover. But even in that fight, in the first 4 or 5 rounds, Caleb Plant was winning the fight. And Canelo Alvarez, he admitted that he was frustrated with the style of Caleb Plant, the movement. Okay, he can't deal with the movement, has slow feet, and he's not the tallest guy. He prefers a fighter who's standing in front of him. This is a massive. So he opted to not take $45 million and $55 million to fight Errol Spence and JERMALL Charlo at catchweight of 164. Wow. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.